All right, everybody. We are back again for another episode of the Coach's Compass. Now, this time I do know what episode it is. It is season 6, and this is the last and final episode of season 6. Now, I don't know what number it is. I just know we recorded and brought on a lot of cool guests from all across the world. So remember, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so you continue to have us stay record. Continue to have cool guests from all across the world. I've got another special guest with me here today. I have Sandy Martin, who is going to be talking to us now. All of us coaches, we've been talking about the performance side of things. She's going to talk about working on the inside and how that helps us get it out. So, Sandy, I'm going to kick it off to you to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little more about today.
Thanks, Coop. It's so great to be here. I've been learning lessons the hard way since 1975, and I literally took a brain injury for me to figure out how to live my life well. And sometimes I'm just really stubborn.
Welcome to, hey, that's how we work. All of us athletes and coaches are.
Yeah.
Right? We feel like we thrive that way.
Yeah, and so, it's an uncommon story. I had mold in my brain. I didn't know it for 5 months, and I was misdiagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. And when you get a misdiagnosis, you start therapies that don't work. And a lot of what helps a TBI is expensive. It's not, even though, let's just say hyperbaric oxygen therapy is the best way to deal with TBI. It's not approved by the FDA as such. You can get it for wound care, but not for TBI. And so you have to pay out of pocket. I spent a lot of money and it gave me headaches.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I figured out what was wrong with me that I could address what was happening and actually get back my life. So I think my story is one of caution. Not entirely relatable, but I bet everybody's dealing with something that they wish they understood better inside their own bodies. I think that is relatable.
You're talking about mold. Like we talk about, like for some of us athletes, right? Like, or some of us coaches out there, when we think about mold, like we look at food that gets like moldy, right? Or you talk about like you call it an exterminator or something like that, and there's mold in the wall. Like when you say mold in the brain, like actually physically in your body and your brain, what do you mean by that? And how was that affecting your day to day?
So mold can enter the body by ingesting it from that food. Highly recommend avoiding the moldy pieces. It can be in your coffee. We don't even realize how moldy coffee is. Coffee and tea are very moldy foods. A lot of wheat has mold in it. It's microscopic. We don't see it. It's really common to ingest mold. It's less common to breathe it through the air. Even less common, I had been walking through a room that had mold behind the walls without much effect until I painted the walls. And it was explained to me that the paint fumes, because they're a volatile organic compound, they acted as a carrier for the mold in the air to go straight into my brain. Most people don't realize that our eyeballs are directly connected to our brain. There's no buffer. It's like our brain is directly on our face.
Yes.
And so it rode my optic nerve and it went through my sinuses. There's really easy access through the sinuses. But we found mold on my optic nerve, which is how I know it definitely went in through my eyes, maybe also through my nose. And then because it was so concentrated through that paint fume, my cognition went immediately. A lot of people exposed to mold may see it in their air vents, may see it on a wall, may see it in the shower, and they don't get immediately sick. It's a gradual thing that affects people, maybe has them put on a couple pounds, maybe they feel a little tired, maybe they get a little brain fog. But I was unable to read a spreadsheet that I had myself designed 2 weeks prior. And that's how I knew I was fucked. Like, I just didn't, I was not me anymore.
Yeah.
There was no way at 45 I was accepting that as my new reality. I had to figure out what was wrong.
And when you went in, because you just read the spreadsheet, you're like, oh, shit, I don't understand nothing on this. And I made this spreadsheet,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And you're looking at this and you're like, what do you go into the doctor and say that you want to, like, hey, what did you say? You're like, what do you, like, because I don't think like, hey, I'm going to go into the doctor and like, hey, doc, will you check my nasal cavities and will you check and see if I got mold?
And I didn't
don't think of that.
know. I didn't even think I had been exposed to mold. I had no idea that's what it was. I found that out 5 months later. that when I went through all my notes to analyze all of my actions in the period of time that I got sick, I identified that action. But it was because of a brain scan I got done. I went immediately to a neurologist. I was lucky enough to skip the primary care and I went directly to the neurologist, and he ordered a scan that was performed improperly. But he didn't know and I didn't know. And so what they did, it's a SPECT scan, and they put a nuclear tracer in your vein at a moment in time that holds a picture of where your brain was in that moment. They put you in a machine, they take a bunch of pictures, and then they tell you what's wrong with you. Or they think they tell you what's wrong with you. So I was bored. They put me in a dark room, bed. I lied down with my eyes closed and meditated for 15 minutes before they came back in and put the tracer in. So what happens is that my frontal lobe got real quiet because I was meditating. And then the vision center in the back was dark because I had my eyes closed. So in those 15 minutes, I changed the way my brain looked, which isn't harmful. And I didn't have a TBI, but it made it look like I'd hit my head. And so I got diagnosed with a severe TBI, so bad I couldn't remember it. And that's how doctors will gaslight us. You must have hit your head. The brain scan definitely shows that you definitely hit your head.
Even though in that 15-minute period, you
Nobody
hadn't
knew.
done anything besides meditate.
Well, right. And so that's what made the brain scan confusing to the doctor. Now, I'd hit my head when I was 10. That was true. I told him about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. And he said, it comes back to haunt you. I see it all the time. I was like, no. And so he recommended hyperbaric oxygen therapy, neurofeedback, and a drug called nimodipine that's given to stroke victims. And I went to the hyperbaric clinic to get all signed up. And he asked me what the protocol was. I told him, and he said, oh, Dr. So-and-so. I was like, how do you know that? He said, well, he's the only one that recommends that drug for TBI. And I was like, oh, great. So then I decided to not take the drug. And this is where my story starts with biohacking starts with no. Because until we say no to something, we aren't really standing up for ourselves against the white coat, against the authority, against the safe and sure protocols. I was a traditionalist. I was into conventional medicine. I didn't set out to be a weirdo. It just kind of happened by accident. That's not true. I've always been a little weird.
Is that considered a weirdo, though, just because you're standing up for what you believe in or what research you've done, what things that you come to find that work out for you? That's not saying that you're all against conventional medicine. You're just against the ones that don't work for you, and for people to actually do their homework and do their research on these things that they're telling you to take and telling you to use to be able to function, when in reality, they're looking at it from a masses, right? Like, it's almost like we, as us coaches and athletes say, not one program is going to make you the best athlete you can. Not one program is going to make you the fastest. It's not one thing fits all when it comes to this. Now, squats are going to help you. Yeah. Running fast is going to help you. Yeah. But there's different ways to break it all down for each person. So I wouldn't say it's a weirdo thing. I would say it's eye-opening, right?
Tell my brother. He thinks I'm pretty weird.
And not everybody's woken up to it. But when you get this news, right, not even the correct news at the beginning, what made you, and I know you went into the hyperbaric place and they're like, oh, well, yep, same doctor, he prescribes it. What made you sit back and say, oh, maybe I should do a little bit more homework?
Well, I did not make a lot of rational decisions in that period of time, given the brain injury. I bought my own hyperbaric chamber because it was $7,000 more than what was being prescribed. So I figured, I'll have my own. Other people can benefit. My ex-husband has it.
Sorry to hear that.
It was very large and hard to move.
Yes.
And so it gave me headaches. I mean, it's part of my story that I spent almost $100,000 in year one to heal a broken brain that wasn't broken. It was just cloudy because it needed to detox. And I didn't know that. And so when you put oxygen on a brain with mold in it, the mold fights back. It gave me a headache. Like, that doesn't heal your brain, it just agitates it. And so I stopped the expensive therapy and I tried light therapy on my head, and that can help. And I use light therapy today, but I don't have mold and inflammation in my brain anymore. So it has a place to go. It has something it can do. It can actually reach my cells. I use pulsed electromagnetic frequency therapy today, but back then it's not really going to do much. And so it took it, it took a lot of time to get to the real answer, to get an accurate diagnosis. And even once I had that, I had two different doctors fail me. One prescribed a drug that gave me suicidal thoughts for just a couple days, got mad at me when I said I wouldn't take it, so I had to fire her. And then the other one required $13,000 up front because he was a crook. But he was the only one that had the credentials that matched what I knew I needed. And so when he couldn't interpret the tests that he was charging me for, and he wasn't giving me any new answers to go on, I had to fire him too. And so it got to a point where I understood I had to go slow, I had to be gentle. Mold fights back, give it time. I got out of the environment. I did gentle detox therapies, slow movements, and I eventually got better. And so when I put my life back together, I had been running Comic Cons with my ex-husband. And then we got divorced because this changed my whole personality. And he and I are friends, but we weren't compatible as a couple anymore. I said, oh, well, I've been running events for 15 years. Let me apply that knowledge to something that can really help people. So instead of teaching people how to dress up like Batman, I say I teach them how to be like Batman.
In that time period of, this finding new Sandy, what made you want to keep going? Like, what pushed you to keep pushing forward for others that are going through, the same situation, or maybe even other mental issues, things within their bodies, right? That they're questioning, that they know aren't right. Just doesn't feel like. What made you say, hey, I need to set up these events for others like myself, and I need to push forward and kind of put myself to the back and do this for the greater good?
Having a foreign invader in my body, controlling my thoughts, making me doubt myself, making me feel lethargic, making me think thoughts that were dangerous to me. I looked at the world and thought, gee, people don't realize how complicated the body is, how many things can interrupt, and they just believe what they're told. If I had gone down this path without figuring out what was really wrong with me, I would have been diagnosed with chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia or another kind of autoimmune disorder. That would have been my death sentence. Chronic illness, steroids for the rest of my life. How many people does that apply to? And so we're being lied to about what's happening in our bodies. They're reducing us to the smallest common denominator and treating us all the same. And I really fought to get my life back. And when I came through, I realized other people were suffering and didn't have a voice, didn't have the means to figure all that out on their own. And I really just want people to feel well inside their bodies with their friends and family, enjoying life, because it doesn't have to be something to be suffered. I feel like my story is an example of breaking through. I mean, I used to be a very angry, bitchy person, and I'm not so often anymore. No, I'm just kidding. I'm pretty chill these days.
I was about to say it's pretty relaxed right now. I wouldn't mark you as that at all. But it's very touching and rewarding. But to hear somebody from outside, right? So obviously working a lot of being on the athlete side of things and the coach's side of things, like there's a lot of us on this side that are fighting for the greater good of, the athlete, the coach, how to help out and everything. But on the other side, right, we don't really always, I would say what we call is the real world. We don't really interact with the real world that much, right? Because it's just we're not used to it, because sometimes we butt heads when it comes to the way we, live our everyday lives and how we go about things, and waking up before everybody else, working these crazy amount of hours, pushing, our bodies to the limits. But hearing somebody else that went through something and a foreign invader, because if you look at athletes, right, they go through these injuries, these serious injuries, these concussions, right? All these things that they damage their body, but then they're sent to the real world. Now that's the interaction that we don't
without
always get.
without the tools they need to integrate well,
Exactly.
right? And
Exactly.
we're not giving our athletes what they deserve. How many athletes do you know have gotten concussions and have not had the privilege of going through hyperbaric oxygen therapy because they treat it
I
like
know
it's a
tons.
privilege, right?
I
Like
know tons of
you
them.
have to have serious money. Thank goodness my ex-husband made the kind of money he made in the businesses that I could afford that. But it should be commonplace that if you hit your head, you put oxygen in there. That helps people. So what happens if somebody hits their head, if they hit their frontal lobe, then their judgment is impaired. And so we send these people to the real world without executive control over the impulses of the midbrain, because the midbrain just loves everything and has the most amazing ideas, thinks everything's fun, and has no break. If the front brain is impaired, they're just going to be all over the place. Well, why can't you stick with something? Why can't you follow through? And then we blame the person as if it's some sort of character flaw.
Mhm.
And it's not. It's not a character flaw. I heard somewhere that they did a study. This is very extreme, but they did a study of prison inmates and found that most of them had head trauma from
Yeah.
some point of their youth. They made bad decisions that got them in prison, but somebody had hit their head. Probably wasn't them. Probably got hit in the head for some reason, somehow.
Yeah.
And we're not taking care of the external reasons why people can make bad decisions. Like I couldn't make decisions at all when I was sick. I couldn't label, I couldn't judge. It was wild that I couldn't form judgments. That was what drove a wedge between me and my ex-husband because he was judging everybody all the time. An executive typically does so.
Right.
And I was like, but have you considered? And maybe it's like this. And I saw every possibility except a label for judgment. And when I had to buy a car, I asked my brother to pick one for me because I couldn't decide. Like,
Really?
I love cars. I love to drive what I love, and I love to try new kinds of cars. I couldn't make a decision.
Goodness. Along your way, as you continue to push forward, what is the message that you want to relay to the rest of the world about how to find help?
It's not your character. It's your biology. If something's going on and you want a different kind of a life, going to somebody and talking about how you're struggling to get through a challenge is not going to solve the issue. It might be a gut imbalance. It might be a head injury. It might be mold in your shower. It might be fluoride in your water. It might be the perfume you wear, the cologne. That affects our hormones. So young men have testosterone levels today that middle-aged men had in the 1950s. And so the body doesn't repair as fast without the testosterone that the body expects to have. But heating food in plastic containers creates a hormonal cascade that mimics estrogen in a man's body, lowers testosterone. And so if there's anything about your life that you feel is a little off, don't take it to heart. Examine and decode the signals from the inside out, because it could be as much as just cutting the perfume and not heating things in plastic. And in a few months, you might feel better. And I know that sounds weird to most people.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
But it's real.
Being a former athlete and being a coach and being on this side of the world, it doesn't sound weird at all. Sometimes you got to draw the whole picture and figure out how to take out the small pieces to make the bigger picture of what it is. So that's what it's like. It's like going underneath the hood of a car, right? So Sandy, I want to say thank you so much for coming on today and keeping it real and telling us what it's like, and also getting an outside perspective, like I always love to do, is getting somebody from not that's in the coaching world or the athlete world to kind of tell us, hey, things on the real world, like, guys, there are people out here that are willing to help you and show you and guide you along the way. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
And we're out.